cue speaks in vinyl cracks. Feel the drop, it takes you back. Heartbeats sync with dusty tracks. A sound attack, no plan, no map.
All right, what's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to the Negative BQ YouTube channel. We hit our subscriber goal for January. Doesn't mean we still can't be friends if you're a first timer. So you can consider hitting that subscribe button. And as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. There's one thing, I shouldn't say one thing, I'm critical about a lot of things, but there's one thing over the years that is in particularly has bothered me about TNA strategy for growth, and it is their insistence of living in the past. There was a while when we were watching the show where they would give us full entire matches to try to promote TNA Plus. They would at one point, probably this is probably going on for a year, when they were trying to promote the Pluto TV channel, they would give us clips from that as well. And the one thing that those clips and those matches had in common is that they looked significantly better than what we were watching on the program at the time. The lighting was better, the crowd was better, the stars were bigger. But for whatever reason, they have felt that this is a strategy that will get new fans. Yeah, you see this goof on Twitter all the time. Someone debuts in AEW. Oh, we gotta post a clip. They're actually wasting their time to put together this whole tweet and clip and get it all ready for YouTube just because they're just waiting for that person to debut so they can put that shit out on Twitter. And I made it a New Year's resolution last year that I really wasn't going to harp on that too much because it used to drive me crazy, and I used to talk about it nonstop. And I have pulled back on it a little bit, but I'm resurrecting my thoughts um, regarding this because we're just in a very different place with TNA right now, and it is a new era. We have the partnership with NXT that is going well. I think both sides right now are excited with what they're doing, but they have had this strategy for several years that I don't think works, and it's geared at trying to bring back the lapsed fan. So when you're giving these old matches and you're trying to get all cute on Twitter, you were trying to use the past to get people to care about the present. To me, that is not a strategy for success. You can promote your library. I think the tagline that they have right now, that I don't even know what it is off the top of my head, but the tagline, I don't even remember what it is, but they've got a good marketing slogan right now for TNA Plus. And I think you can use the history of TNA to your advantage, but to do it to try to bring back the lapsed fan is not a strategy that is going to work. I promise it hasn't worked because nothing really since I've covered this company has moved the needle at all until we're kind of to this point here. The ultimate needle mover was the partnership with NXT. So, you know, as I said, what those clips, those old clips had in common was that they looked better than what we were currently watching on TV. One thing that I've said, TW used to say it too, and I probably haven't really harped on it since about 2023, but there is a portion of the wrestling fan base that is clueless to the dark days of TNA. Where's the clueless to the downfall of TNA? This losing the Spike TV deal, the Vince Russo stuff, the bringing in Booker T and RVD, these dudes who didn't give a shit, the Nasty Boys, losing AJ Styles. Like there is a huge wrestling audience that is clueless to that. And where I thought they always made a mistake is that they didn't try to reach those people. They didn't try to speak to that wrestling fan, that younger wrestling fan who was starting to make up the key demo and hopefully would increase your advertising dollars. Instead, it was let's promote to guys in their late 30s, early 40s, and their 50s and try to get them back to watching the show. And it just it hasn't worked. There's been people over the years who let's check out TNA again, but they weren't putting their best foot forward for so long, especially from a production standpoint, to where they were hooking anybody. No one was sticking around. And the thing is, there's no crossover now between AEW and TNA. I understand some of you guys do watch both products. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean the hardcore AEW. I only watch AEW fan. The like those people you brought over briefly during the Kenny Omega run in TNA. Now that there's a partnership between NXT and WWE, there is nothing you can do to get those fans. Nothing. You can post Samoa Joe clips on Twitter till you're blue in the face. You can post Deonna Purrazzo. You can post Taya Valkyrie. You can post Bobby Lashley, MVP. You can do that stuff till you're blue in the fucking face. Those fans are not coming over. They're just not. There's too much of a war between AEW and WWE fans right now that you're not going to get someone that the hardcore AEW viewer back. You know what? Let me check out TNA. I heard they're working with NXT. That's not happening. So this is the time to focus on what you have now, the roster you have now. You can use the library to your advantage when it's relevant. But this Twitter campaign of going through I mean, the amount of work you got to put in to just prepare for someone's debut and put together a whole clip for them, like that's fucking Mark shit. That's so weak to me. Right now, you focus on who you've got on the roster and make them stars and give people a reason to watch based on what you're doing right now. The lapsed fan now, the lapsed fan is so far out of the fucking key demo or close to or damn near close to it that why are you even trying to talk to these people anymore? All that those same people still exist that I said are clueless about the dark days of TNA, but don't remind them about it. Now that you've got this newer audience and a younger audience giving the show a chance, don't start posting all these clips from freaking 2011 and 2012, and I don't even remember exactly what the dark years were. I don't know off the top of my head. And I'm not saying that's the era they choose to work with, but the more that you try to remind people of the history, the more people are going to look into the history, and you're just going to rehash a bunch of old bullshit again. Like don't even remind them. You like if you look at WWE, they're a very forward moving company. Their product is freaking shit compared to 25 years ago. It's shit compared to well, the 90s was really bad, but the 80s was awesome, you know? But they're not sitting here like, "Oh, remember the Attitude Era? Remember, fucking Andre the Giant getting slammed?" Like, they don't do that. They're very forward thinking because they know the money is in who they can put on screen now. And that's the mindset I want TNA to get into. How can we make Moose a bigger household name? How can we make Tessa Blanchard a bigger household name? How can we take Masha Slamovich to the next level? And how can we get people to look at the Rascals like they look at some of the greatest tag teams of all time? That is the mindset I think they need to have, but you cannot keep trying to bring back the lapsed fan and trying to say, "Hey, remember this person was in the company," because then you start posting these clips and they're going to start looking back at it and be like, "What is this shit?" And then they're start researching the freaking drama. Like if it is a new era, it's got to be a new mindset. It just has to be. And I say that at the top of every year, damn near. I've been saying that for so long. Change your mindset because what you're doing was not working. It was keeping you afloat, but you weren't really seeing the growth that you seek. We're starting to see those growth now. We're seeing so much improvement in the numbers, but don't remind them about LOL TNA. Make them think, make people believe the people who do remember those days, disconnect them from those thoughts. Completely disconnect them. And the newer, younger fans you're bringing on, don't even for a second, like My son is not a huge wrestling fan, but he's 16. He started watching wrestling with me when he was 5. He's clueless to there was a while where he kind of like they said about Josh Alexander's kid. Like there was a while where that was the only wrestling to him, you know? He watches with a very, very open mind. And again, he's just a teenager, but he watches with a very open mind. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, hey son, let's talk about Vince Russo for a second. Let's talk about Dixie Carter. Let's talk about Spike TV. I'm not going to do that to him because I'm not going to bring up things that were not successful. I keep bringing up Vince Russo. I actually like Vince Russo, but I know that the general feelings of his run in TNA were not strong. But I'm not going to sit here and educate my son on worse times. I want him to really enjoy what they're doing now and go from there. Like how do we make Joe Hendry even a bigger star than he is now? Like that's what the focus has to be. And now you have the platform to do that. You have the eyeballs to do it, but it's about your mindset. And are you going to change what you were doing before that wasn't working and move forward and look forward at all times? That's what I want to see from TNA going forward.